Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Friday, October 4th. If you are just tuning in, we just broke down the MLB divisional round of the playoffs, shaping up to be one of the best yet. In this segment, we're transitioning to game picks for both college football and the NFL. We're going to start in the NFL here, predicting every single game from over the weekend, including our first game overseas in London, the New York Jets taking on the Minnesota Vikings. But before we do that, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you are on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all you'd like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Friday, October 4th. But like I was saying, we are going to get into some NFL game picks here. Starting off with that aforementioned London game. As Andre says, Garrett Wilson's kind of due. This is going to be a big game. The Jets come in limping. This is a game they need really, really badly. Minnesota coming in off a hot stretch. Sam Darnold put himself in MVP conversations. I think that's kind of ridiculous. I think that conversation should go to Justin Jefferson, but still, it's incredibly impressive what the Vikings have been doing. They're 2.5-point favorites in this one in London, and I kept going back and forth in this one. There's no real home field advantage in this one, even though Minnesota is the home team. There's no real home field advantage here. Minnesota is a team coming off of a huge victory, a huge division victory against Green Bay. They don't need it as much as the Jets do. That being said, this Jets team has been so bipolar. They've been so on and off. One week, you get a huge win against the Patriots. The next week, they throw up a dud against the Broncos. Can't even get over 9 points. This is a huge game for them. I want to lean Jets. In my heart of hearts, I want to pick the Jets. But the way the Minnesota Vikings have been playing has been arguably the best in football. You take a look at some power rankings. I had them third in my power rankings, but some people have them one. And I wouldn't blame them for having one because the Vikings have looked near unstoppable. That combination of offensive coaching from Kevin O'Connell and defensive coaching from Brian Flores is one of the best coaching staffs in the league, and that is a huge part of this. This Vikings team is going to be ready. I think this is a great game to kick off the slate in Europe. I think the Minnesota Vikings take this one, 24-21. Heading back to the U.S., 1 o'clock games here. The Baltimore Ravens coming off an absolute shellacking of those Buffalo Bills, favored by 2.5 points at division rival Cincinnati. The Cincinnati Bengals offense, it's been great, has been phenomenal. Very few teams have been able to stop them. Their defense, on the other hand, that's been a different story entirely. The Cincinnati Bengals defense has been one of the worst defenses in all of football. They've been able to get run up and down on, and they've given up 100 yards on the ground in both games, 2 straight games, to Brian Robinson Jr. and to Chuba Hubbard. Now they have to face a whole different animal in Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, we saw what they could do against a good defense. Granted, a defense that is much better built to stop the pass than the run, but a good defense in the Buffalo Bills. Derrick Henry torched them for 199 yards, nearly 200, and 2 touchdowns, nearly 3 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson added a rushing touchdown for good measure on top of that. This is a game that I think Baltimore should dominate offensively. I think Cincinnati's offense is good enough to keep up, but that defense is not going to be able to get the stops when they need. I think Baltimore takes this one in Cincinnati 33-27. Then we get to the real bipolar team. I know I kind of called the Jets bipolar, but Indianapolis traveling to Jacksonville. Jacksonville, the lone remaining winless team in the NFL. Indianapolis has not won a game in Jacksonville in almost 15 years. It's been a very long time since they won a game in Jacksonville. Unclear if Anthony Richardson is starting, but that's what makes this team so bipolar. Joe Flacco comes in. He did a great job. He did a solid job. This Colts defense, you'll have your good Colts days, you'll have your bad Colts days. On a good Colts day, they can beat just about anyone. On a bad Colts day, this is a game, and Jacksonville is favored. And like I said, history is not on the Colts' side. I think this one's going to be very close. And I think the Colts team, coming off of a big win against the previously undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't think they're going to be able to travel down to Jacksonville and keep that same energy. Again, it has been nearly 15 years since they won a game in Jacksonville, and maybe you say that they're due. Maybe you say that. But I just don't see it this year. This isn't a Colts team that has proven to me that they're the one that are going to break those curses, the seeming curses that has rocked this franchise for a really long time, eliminated them from the playoffs at times. I think Jacksonville wins this game 23-24. Another divisional matchup between two pretty bad teams here. The Miami Dolphins with Snoop Huntley, who, quick side tangent here, I think Snoop Huntley did a really good job with that offense. On short notice, I know he didn't look great, overthrew a couple balls, underthrew a couple balls, but I think he did a solid job with that Miami team. They looked awful against Tennessee, though. It's a good Tennessee defense. Now they travel to New England, another good New England defense. I think they get some redemption here. New England is not a team offensively, even with the Dolphins losing Jalen Phillips for the year yet again, which is devastating for them. He's one of their best pass rushers. They still have Bradley Chubb, but having him on the other side was the reason they felt comfortable letting Christian Wilkins go, letting him walk in free agency. That defense takes a big step back. I do think Miami gets the job done here. I think they win 26-20, even with the offensive problems they've had. This New England team doesn't scream to me that they're going to be able to pull off what Mason Rudolph and the Titans were able to do, which maybe doesn't sound the greatest for the Patriots, but still, I think this Miami Dolphins team with Snoop Huntley at the helm and another week of full practice with him as the quarterback is going to be much improved. And maybe that's wishful thinking for me, but I do think that the Dolphins get this win 26-20. Then we get a surprise game. Surprise good game, I think, as the Cleveland Browns travel to the nation's capital to take on the Washington Commanders. Washington favored by 3. We've seen Jaden Daniels now 2 straight incredible games from him. 2 straight near-perfect games from Jaden Daniels. They've only punted 1 time since week 1. That is a ridiculous stat right there. Granted, they have played the Giants defense. They have played the Bengals defense, and they have played the Cardinals defense. I want to believe in Jaden Daniels. I really do. I really do want to believe in Jaden Daniels. But I need to see it against a real defense. And honestly, I just need to see it against a defense with a pulse. And I think this Cleveland Browns defense counts as a defense with a pulse. I think the Commanders win this game. And if Jaden Daniels is for real, he's going to show it this week. Maybe I'm a little slow to hop on the Jaden Daniels hype train, but I've been burned by stuff like this before, and I want to see it against a real team, quote unquote, a real defense, I should say, before I fall head and shoulders into that Jaden Daniels hype train. I think Washington wins pretty comfortably, though. That Cleveland defense hasn't been great, and Deshaun Watson is at the helm, and those two things don't combine for great football. For winning football. Washington wins 31-21. Buffalo travels to Houston in possibly the game of the week. Obviously, big storyline coming into this one. Stephon Diggs' revenge game. Stephon Diggs forces himself out of yet another team. He joins this Houston team. Seems like he's having a good time down there. This is a Houston team that's dealing with some injuries at the running back position. And as we've seen in the weeks that teams have gotten offense against this Buffalo defense, it's the running game that's really been the most effective part. Against the Cardinals week 1, we saw James Conner do his thing. Obviously, last week, we saw Derrick Henry do his thing. Joe Mixon doesn't seem like he's going to play in this game, and that is a little bit concerning to me. It's a little bit concerning because this is a Texans team that has struggled a little bit offensively without Joe Mixon, without that consistent run attack. Cam Akers has been fine. Dare Ogunbowale has been fine, but they need that potent running attack to really reach their ceiling, and they don't have that right now. And Buffalo, their Achilles heel is a potent running attack. Texans don't have that right now. Because of that, I think Buffalo and Josh Allen bounce back in a big way, get a big win on the road, 27-24. Carolina traveling to Chicago in a battle of what was supposed to be the 2 number 1 overall picks back to back. Now we get Andy Dalton facing one of his former teams. 2 weeks in a row that he's done that. Caleb Williams has been improving every single week, and that is very encouraging to see. Caleb Williams is a guy that came into the league with so much hype. Week 1 fell flat on his face. The offense literally could not get anything going, relied on the defense. We've seen Caleb Williams make throw week after week after week that shows he is improving. It's very impressive to see. I think the Bears continue on that train against a bad Carolina defense. Maybe this is the one where we see Caleb Williams really click finally. Chicago favored by 4, wins 27-20. Then we get an ugly game. A real ugly game, one might say. The Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders minus 1 Davante Adams. Davante Adams, who we talked about on Wednesday, forcing his way out. I think there's a couple of places he will go. Jets, Cowboys, Chiefs, Saints. Those are my top 4 there. Not on the team anymore. The Denver Broncos, defense especially, has played incredible recently. 2 straight wins against 2 pretty good teams in the Bucs and the Jets, I think. That defense has been awesome. I don't think that defensive train stops now against a bad Las Vegas offense, especially if Pat Surtain can lock up their number 1 receiver, which isn't even going to be Davante Adams anymore. That is a huge, huge get for that Broncos team, and I think Denver takes this one 14-16. Ugly game, but a win's a win, and that's how the Broncos are going to have to win games this year. Arizona, another division matchup, traveling to San Francisco. San Fran favored by 7.5. We finally saw Brandon Ayuk get a little involved. That team is getting healthier. Obviously, they don't have Christian McCaffrey. He's going to be out for a while. Not sure if he's even going to play this season, which sucks for McCaffrey fantasy managers. But Jordan Mason has done a very good job filling in, and not much to worry about there. The offense looks a lot different, but still, it's working. George Kittle making great plays. Debo making a couple of good plays. Jordan Mason, again, in the run game that they love to rely on. This is still a very, very good 49ers team. This is a very, very bad Arizona Cardinals defense. And I think Brock Purdy is going to carve them up. I think they win pretty comfortably. Still an Arizona offense you need to be careful of. They haven't been as good as expected, but it's still a good Arizona offense. So you can't just relax on this one because they could upset you. We've seen them do that against good defenses earlier in this season. Again, I don't think it's going to be enough, though. San Fran wins it comfortably 35-20. Then we have Green Bay. 3-point favorite traveling to LA to take on the Rams. Jordan Love is back looking for his first win of the season against a battered, beaten, and bruised LA Rams team. The LA Rams at home, even though Matt Stafford is very good, I don't think it's going to be enough against a solid Green Bay team. They just went toe-to-toe, and then in that second half, they dominated. If their kicker had made a couple of kicks, they would have won that game. Now, obviously, Minnesota plays this game a little bit differently if the Packers make those kicks, so you can't just say that. But still, Green Bay, I think, wins this one 31-24. Then we have a blowout. I'm not even going to try and sugarcoat this one. The New York Giants without Malik Neighbors travel to Seattle and take on Geno Smith and the Seahawks. It's just not going to be close. The Giants don't have any offense outside of Malik Neighbors. They don't even have Devin Singletary, who's been kind of that secondary option. Wan'Dale Robinson will be there, so maybe he'll catch 20 balls. Maybe he'll get 50 yards. Maybe. We'll see. He's been very much the underneath guy. Daniel Jones can't push the ball downfield. They're not going to have that running game going. This is not going to be a fun game to watch for anyone. The Seahawks win 28-10. And then Sunday Night Football, as we have the Dallas Cowboys minus 2 of their best defensive players, their 2 best defensive line players, taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. Justin Fields looking to bounce back after he had a good game, but the defense was unable to stop the Colts that much, especially in the first half. I think this is a game where the Pittsburgh defense feasts. Maybe there's one where CeeDee Lamb gets away, but this is, I've been saying it all year, a one-dimensional Cowboys team. Paper-thin one dimension, too. You have CeeDee Lamb. That's it. Their defense has not been that good, and they're missing their two best players. Maybe this turns into a blowout even. I'm not going to go that far because I still don't really believe in this Pittsburgh Steelers offense, but they did crack that 20-point margin last week. Maybe they can do it again this week. I'm going 17-20. The Pittsburgh Steelers win this one. And Monday Night Football, we'll do a bigger breakdown on Monday itself, but I have the Chiefs winning 23-20. Again, bigger breakdown on Monday, but that's my score prediction for now. But anyway, let me know what you have in week 5 of the NFL. Which picks I'm way off on. Which ones you think I need to change. Love to hear your thoughts. We're gonna take a quick break here. When we come back, we're taking a look at college football. There are 14 games that I've picked out on this not super exciting slate, but there are still some upset possibilities around here, and we're gonna talk about some of the ones that I picked out. So stick around for that. We'll be right back here on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network.